Hello! Today I'll be showing you some easy recipes to spice up your meal prep. We're gonna have an easy chocolatey oat mix lentil soup, which is filled with delicious and nutritious veggies. And we're also going to have two snacks. We're gonna have some coconut pumpkin cookies, which are paleo friendly, and honey mustard roasted chickpeas. We've already gotten all the mise en place ready, so let's get started. We already have the mire ready, except we didn't have carrot. So if you do have carrot, add 1 carrot into this mixture. I'll put all the recipes and exact measurements down below. 3 small potatoes, but not like the tiny ones, like the medium tiny ones. Does that make sense? Then we have 1/4 cup of rice, 1 cup of lentils. There has been a murder. A nearly overflowing 1/2 cup of tomato sauce. Then 2 of these babies to the top, so like 4 cups of water. Some olive oil, which is already in the pan, and some salt and pepper to taste. If I were Paula Deen, I would have used the butter instead.
I've used about 20 or 25 sticks of butter.
But we just have olive oil. While that's sizzling away, I'm going to start taking out the ingredients for the next recipe. And if I hadn't pre-prepared the potatoes, I would have peeled them and cut them down. Now you're gonna want to add in your tomato sauce. Up real nicely. Try it again. Stir that up real nicely. I'll say it again. Stir that up real nicely. For maximum flavor, you're gonna want to add in your water into your little tomato sauce measuring cup so that you can get out the extra tomato sauce that is like stuck on here. So that's nice. And then once that's properly cleaned, just pour in the rest of it. Additional to these first 2 cups of water, you're gonna need to add 2 more. So then you're gonna add in your rinsed and drained lentils. And you're also gonna want to add your potato. For the love of everything that is good and holy, please season this soup well. I'm not normally the type of person who loves a lot of salt in my food, but this dish needs it. And it might seem like you keep cooking the salt and it isn't quite enough. So until you get to the point where the soup is not bland, don't stop adding salt.
2,000 years later.
But also, pro tip, don't add all your salt in the first stages of the soup. You do not want to add the amount of salt that you think you'll need at the first few stages, because otherwise when the water evaporates, it's going to be oversalted. So just keep that in mind. So you're gonna want to bring the soup to a boil and then bring it back down to a simmer and let it simmer for 25 minutes. 25? Oh, Jesus. While that's cooking, we can put together our chocolatey oat mix. It's easier to make in a mason jar because you can just, instead of measuring, just look at the outline of each ingredient to then more or less know whether it's the right quantity or not. And if that doesn't make any sense, I'll show you what I mean in a few seconds. Even if you don't have a mason jar, you can make it. So the ingredients for this are, oh my god, I forgot the most important. Okay. So here we have our chocolate vegan protein powder. You can use any flavor you like. I just personally prefer chocolate. Then we have our oats. You can use whatever type you want. Once again, in this case we have quick oats, but this is also great with old-fashioned oats if you soak it overnight like you would overnight oats. And then of course like cinnamon. And then we have our flax, which is a great source of omega-3 healthy fats. But please get ground flax or grind your own flax, because if you use unground flax, it just passes through your digestive tract and you don't absorb the nutrients in the flax properly. One thing you have to keep in mind if you're gonna play around with the ratios of the recipe is that if you add too much flax or too much protein powder, the texture could be grainy. So I feel like the ratio that I have is more or less good, but in any case, you can just tweak the recipe to your liking. The ratio that works best, at least from what I've trialed, is a half cup of oats, a half scoop of protein powder, heaps of cinnamon, and about a tablespoon of flax. I have a quarter cup right now, so we're gonna get 2 of these. So that is 1 serving. So you're gonna wanna layer this until you have the mason jar completely full. This is almost a week's worth of oat mix. You can have it for breakfast almost every day and you'll be fine, depending on how much of the oat mix you eat. Mid-filming this, we realized that this mason jar doesn't have a lid, so I'm gonna have to move this to another container so that I can shake it up. You should store this in a cool, dry place, and it should last maybe like a month or even more because they're all dry ingredients. The only thing I would be worried about is the flax going bad, so if you're worried about that, refrigerate it. I love this mix because it is very versatile. If you want to have it as like overnight oats, you can. If you want to have it as what I call like right now oats, if you're feeling impatient and like you can just pour in a little bit of almond milk and then you're good to go. You could also make oatmeal on the stove with it. You could also make microwave oatmeal with it. You could also make a cake out of it if you add a little bit of baking powder and also put it in the microwave. So whatever suits your fancy. My favorite way to prepare it is adding in a little dollop of yogurt and a splash of almond milk until it gets to the right consistency, which I will show to the screen. At least the right consistency in my opinion. I like pretty thick. I like pretty thick oatmeal, so yeah. Actually, I don't like oatmeal. I like oats because like oatmeal is kind of gross and disgusting, but like oats, very nice. Like overnight oats, right now oats. So now we're gonna want to pour in our rice. You'd also pour in your leafy greens at this point. So typically what we use is like half a bag of spinach, but right now we don't have spinach, so we'll just add it in later when our mom comes back from the grocery store. You just want to stir this baby in, and you'll see the soup has definitely thickened and the 25 minutes have elapsed. So now we just need to let the rice cook and it'll be ready. So we're just gonna set this timer to 15 minutes. Oh yeah. Vale, you wait. So first you're gonna want to crack some pepper in here to season up these rinsed and drained chickpeas. The ratio we're going to be working with is 3 tablespoons of mustard and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. So now that we've poured in our mustard, we're going to want to pour in a tablespoon of maple syrup. Now we're going to pour this into our chickpeas. And if you want less sauce than this per chickpea, you could also just add a little bit more of the chickpeas. We put these in an air fryer with a little bit of foil on the bottoms. So you're gonna want to set this to 400 degrees and about 5 minutes to start. And then you can mix them around, throw them in for an additional 5 minutes, and they'll be good. And we are officially done with our lentil soup recipe. The only thing this needs is the leafy greens, which with the residual heat that the soup has will cook down. You can just serve yourself up a nice plate, garnish it with the herb of your choice, in our case cilantro, and eat up. We have reached our final recipe. I will be showing you how to make these pumpkin coconut cookies, which will also be made in the air fryer. So here we have our wet ingredients. We have, well, dates aren't wet. they're solids, but they need to be blended. So they're with pumpkin and vanilla. We'll blend them up until they are a nice consistency, which I will show you guys in a second. So this is the final result with the chickpeas. As you can see, they're all crisped up and nice. It ended up taking 15 minutes as opposed to the 10 minutes we thought it was going to take at 400 degrees. Make sure you mix it around because especially since the honey mustard mixture goes to the bottom, some can end up a lot crispier than others. This would be a great snack to go along with maybe some like salty nuts or just by itself. We're gonna add some pumpkin pie spice and some cinnamon. Be generous with it. So I just added a half cup of coconut flour, a quarter cup of coconut chips or coconut flakes, a quarter cup of almond meal or almond flour. Well, you could also do this with your hands. I'm probably gonna get to that. So here we have our end product. It already sort of came together and it's still moist, but it's pliable and we'll be able to form it into our little cookies. So this recipe made 8 cookies, which we will chuck in the air fryer and put at 400 degrees for 10 minutes. I am in the closet once again. Thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked, drop a like down below. And if you really liked it and you want to see more where this came from, then subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.